Welcome back to Sport Lab, your home for all the highs, lows, and late drama from the Premier League. Today, we're diving into Arsenal's rollercoaster 2-2 draw against Crystal Palace, a result that could hand Liverpool the title as early as this weekend. Let's break down how a costly error from William Saliba left Arsenal's hopes hanging by a thread.
Jean-Philippe, only one place to start with that goal of yours tonight. First and foremost, just how aware were you where David Raya was when you took hold of the ball?
Yeah, first of all, when I started on the bench, I just watched the first half. It was very high, and when I came in the pitch, I knew if we win the ball high, I know it will be in his goal, and I try, and I score.
Alan Smith, our co-commentator, described it as one of the very best goals of the Premier League season. Is that one of the very best goals that you've scored in your career?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, yeah.
Well, how aware were you that it was going in when you hit it? Did you know from the minute you hit it, it was on target?
No, I was scared the ball hit the crossbar, and I just wait until the end, and after the ball goes in, yeah, I was happy.
Big games ahead for both teams coming into this match tonight. At times the game seemed a little bit pedestrian watching it from the sidelines, but in terms of performance tonight from Crystal Palace, how big was that performance in terms of your recent Premier League games?
Yeah, today we just stick on our plans, we struggled for the last 3 games. I don't think we scored. Yeah, we scored, but we lose. And we just listen to the gaffer, and today was a good game for us.
You've played Champions League semi-finalists tonight. At the weekend, you play Champions League quarter-finalists. Is this the perfect way now to go into that game?
I think we have confidence now, and hopefully we'll win this semi-final.
Just how big is the weekend for everybody, Jean-Philippe?
Yeah, it's a very good game for the fans, for us, for everybody. And I can't wait to be on Saturday.
14 goals for the season so far. How happy are you with your own form, particularly after such a serious injury as well?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I hope I will score a lot of more goals. And 14 goals is good, but I hope I will score much more.
I think you'll get a start after that goal, won't you, at the weekend?
Hopefully.
Listen, well done, Jean-Philippe. You are the player of the match. Take your trophy.
Thank you. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Good man.
I think maybe a little bit surprised to get it. He only had 5 touches in the game. His third one was that spectacular equaliser. But did we see in that little moment just how important he is as a player to Crystal Palace?
I think you get the sense he's a good character around the dressing room as well. I mean, it shocked him getting the player of the match, it really did. But look, when you create a goal like that, and what he's done off the back of the performance, with the national team, it's been an incredible turnaround. It really has. But yeah, he's got this stature about him. They play so differently. They just play to their comfort when he's up front. Very different to Eddie Nketiah, but the goal itself was absolutely incredible. And I love the fact he said he was watching the game, because sometimes as a substitution, don't get me wrong, I've been there at times when you could be a bit upset if you're not starting, but look, he understands the process, he understands it's not about tonight, and he's always monitoring the game. And I think it's really important to actually that created that goal because he was focused on the bench, not on the pitch as well.
That was an intriguing little insight, wasn't it, Jamie? Because we were all of us asking where was David Raya in that moment. He had a really strong idea because he'd been observing from the sidelines.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight his position here, the goalkeeper. Now, we're going to see this more and more in terms of goalkeepers almost becoming, not just being good on the ball, but if you look at him, he's part of the back four there. Because I think that Nketiah there is almost gone to left back, Lewis Skelly moves on. So this is almost trying to sort of get your extra man, if you like, in the build-up. And I think that's fine. There's no real pressure on the ball. He can handle the ball, David Raya. That, for me, is fine. But that is where he sees him. He sees him now. He knows he's not in the goal. So where I do have a problem with David Raya is eventually when there's players around the ball. So still now, he's in that centre-back position. But as soon as Odegaard almost takes up that position there as another centre-back, and then Nketiah becomes your left-back, I think you've just got to get back in
Do you think
goal.
it's because he's got so much confidence in Ødegaard as a footballer?
Yeah, of course it is. And maybe it's this thing, you know, we're winning 2-1. It had a little bit of a feel of it, second half, maybe at Arsenal. Not so much he's thinking about other things, but it's just a little bit more lax than what it maybe would have been. But I think as soon as Saliba's got another player there to play with, the goalkeeper doesn't need to be there.
He's certainly not thinking worst case scenario at this point,
he's not.
is he?
But that is where Mateta's seen him. And then it's just a mess from Saliba. And it's happened a couple of times now. He was brilliant in the Bernabeu, and again, lost his concentration, his focus. But then this is fantastic. And you see the goalkeeper trying to get back. And that is absolutely
I'm fascinated by the finish, Theo, that he doesn't seem to look up, and he just, at the first possible opportunity, seems to get his shot away.
Well, as a forward, like you say, you always know and recognise spaces, and you recognise where the keeper is. He alluded that to the interview, but I mean, it's one of those where he doesn't think about it. And I think the best football, a lot of footballers these days, they tend to not think about what they're doing. It just happens in moments. And what I find interesting as well is I'm not a big fan of having a number 10. I know Ødegaard's a very important player for Arsenal. At that point in the game, I think he was out of the game completely and wanted to get involved. And I think that was one thing. But also going back to Ray as well, he was a few instances that may be playing on his mind going into obviously to midweek next week. But yeah, look, fantastic Mateta. This goal, I thought Eze's was very good, but this is very special tonight.
The old cliche about being, you know, for a big man, his touch isn't bad.
And he's a really good player.
Yeah.
I do.
How good, Jamie? I mean,
I think that there will be other clubs. Listen, I don't like saying that because, you know, Crystal Palace, you know, supporters understandably get upset by that, but that's a brilliant finish, and for a couple of seasons now, he's been not just a real handful, he's been a real goal-getter for Crystal Palace. And you look at him, you're thinking, OK, can he go to that sort of next level of, maybe not teams challenging for the league, but teams who are challenging for the Champions League positions. You know, you think of sort of the teams in and around, and that's really competitive, those type of teams. You'd say Crystal Palace are a level below that, almost your typical mid-table team, really. But I think he's brilliant. I really like him as a really good player. Just a little point you mentioned there, Theo. I hadn't really noticed it so much, with it being Ødegaard being back in that position. I knew it was him, but we were speaking through the game. I mean, it's something I've sort of looked at a lot with Ødegaard this last season. I feel like a lot of the time, he's not in the positions he should be, which is between the lines. You know, I think he's, for not so much this season, I think he's had an average season, but before that, I was looking at him thinking he was almost on the level of Kevin De Bruyne, it felt to me, where he'd get the ball between the lines, he was threading things, everything was going through him. Felt like I was watching one of the best players in the Premier League. And we've done this, featured this heavily, I think, on Monday Night Football 2 or 3 times this season. He's always coming out of the danger area. He's always coming into a central midfield position, an easy position for me, where he can make nice passes, look neat and tidy, but he's not actually hurting
if you're
anybody.
the opposition team, is that where you would want him, is actually amongst his back four rather than hurting you at the top of the pitch?
Of course, but I mean, he doesn't normally go that deep, and I don't want to be too critical, because I've just seen that clip. There might be a reason why he was there that I'm not aware of, but in general, even when I'm watching them tonight, and we've watched them all season, I feel like he's always on the outside of the game looking in, when he should be in there. Maybe getting less touches, but actually in a position where he can get on the half-turn, he can play people through. I mean, you mentioned his goal return as well early on as well.
2 this season.
Yeah, for playing this position, and as well, there's a lot of competition, you know, amongst the Premier League with the best talent, the number 10s. You would want more goals from him. You would. I get that, and I understand the point of he's that player that connects everyone, but he's got a player from Ranieri behind him who will push him at some point. And you spoke earlier about saying that a player will only so long stay on the bench. Ethan has probably sped up his process of challenging. And this is the point for me at the start of the season when Ødegaard was injured. Ethan didn't play as much at all, but I'm getting a sense now that he's pushing him. And I think Martin Ødegaard at some point will realise this, and he can't just rely on being the team captain as well. But look, I just think it's one of those where it was a disappointing performance, and we spoke about performance going into a big game next week. Mikel Arteta will be pulling his hair out of that one tonight.
I think the point you make there about, I was surprised Ranieri didn't play. You know, Sterling played, he found it tough, he has done. But we were speaking off here, what you've just mentioned in terms of, sometimes the only problem Arsenal have got with Ranieri is he plays in the same position as the best player, which is Saka. And eventually you've got to find us, one of them's got to be the number 10, probably eventually. And I think for another 12 months, they can move that around, mix it around, give Ethan a few more games, a bit more game time. But eventually it's going to be like, I want to play. And I do think one of them is going to end up being that Ødegaard position in the next sort of 18 months.
Well, that Mateta goal made it 2-2, and there was still time for Some nervy moments for the Arsenal crowd and some exciting moments if you're watching this on Merseyside tonight, because remember, another goal at this stage was going to hand Liverpool the title. And here we go, 91st minute, and this had a couple of people squeaking in the studio, let me tell you as well. Theo, what happens here?
I mean, look, again, it's another factor that they've got to deal with. Mateta's completely the polar opposite to Eddie. I think it was going wide anyway, but it was more the problems he was causing and now putting the defenders in a different situation that they've not been used to, because it was a game that was comfortable for both teams. But look, very nervy, I felt, and that if you go into next week particularly, it plays on players' minds. It really does with certain moments in games. And look, for someone like Mateta, you get the likes of some of the PSG players that can cause a lot more damage than Mateta. No disrespect to him, but look, he's very different stature. But you know, be watching that very closely and know, you know, the weaknesses of Arsenal.
So they were the crucial moments towards the end of the game, but let's wind it all the way back to the start, and Arsenal relying on a good old set piece.
Yeah, and they're absolutely brilliant at them. And if you just look at this, we couldn't show this in all of it because of the time constraints at half time. But I just wanted to look at it. It is Kiwior. There's the goal scorer with the taker, Odegaard. So you can see everybody's set. So he's gone right over. He knows what the plan is. He's basically telling them, you know, something that we've worked on. I know where exactly what I want to do. Look, so just keep an eye on them too. And then just watch the knock-on effect. So look at Kiwior run inside now. So if you just look here now, you've got sort of, I think it's Timber here. So as soon as Kiwior gives him a message about what he wants him to do, Timber completely changes his position. So initially he's saying, OK, I'm behind the ball. So Kiwior comes over. Lewis Skelly goes slightly deeper. He now comes and has a word with Timber. Right, we're all going the back post. And then everybody... sorry, just let me
Let's get in the queue for the bus.
Yeah, so even these people who are actually in those positions, as soon as Kiwior comes over, gives the message to Timber, then looks at Trossard as well, and now everybody goes to the back post because there's a plan in place. And then that's what we highlighted at half-time. That, you know, I think there's only Kiwior really who's looking to score. I think the rest of them have all got a job to block the opposition.
Stop it there, Jamie, sorry. Just stop it there. If you flip that to the Crystal Palace perspective, because if you just wind it back a bit, there, you're defending your line as a diligent Crystal Palace defender, and then suddenly you've got no one to actually mark. How unusual is that?
Now, this has been going on for a long time, different to this, in that people would already stand there. So I'd be standing here, defending a wide free kick. Theo will be there and he'd just stand there. And you're almost fighting. So what I used to do later on in my career, and Van Nistelrooy was the master at it. And he used to do it in general play, actually, Van Nistelrooy a lot. But you'd have to be brave at the last minute. And then at the last minute, you'd have to... I'd almost try and get myself throw him round that side. But this is different, that they're coming at the last minute. They're not stood there, they're just bumping you. Now, I actually think, what would you do? Because no one can stop this little bump if someone actually goes the other way and plays them offside. So, OK, we're all in our line, they're running before the fellas are out to take it the whole line. You give a little shout, everyone moves 2 yards that way, and then you're trying to maybe catch these offside. Someone's got to try something, because, you know, this is what we're watching this season, set-piece-wise, is absolutely... Listen, it's outstanding, you have to say that for Arsenal. But as we run it in now, again, everyone, the backsides are out, here we go, the okey-cokey, and it just creates that space. But if you think you've got 4 or 5 players in the box, and most of them aren't looking to get the ball, there's only 1 or 2 looking to get the ball, that delivery has got to be unbelievable, and it is from Odegaard. We've just criticised him before, but this delivery is fantastic. And still the header is out of this world as well. It's 12 yards out, it's on the penalty spot.
And as a centre-back, how much confidence will that give Kiwior getting a goal?
Yeah, it will. You know, listen, you know what, I think Gabriel scored a goal like this at Anfield a year or 2 ago, something pretty similar in that type of position. But on this one especially, Thomas Partey is big part of Kiwior there. Kiwior gives the whack to Nketiah and stop. And then what you've got is that. That is just being created exactly for him to run into that space. The rest of them have been blocked. They've created that space for Kiwior, who looks a different player than what he did last season when he was playing left-back, looked completely out of his depth. But now he looks, you know, a credible Arsenal centre-back. It's not Gabriel, but it'll certainly give them confidence going into sort of the semi-finals.
Is he a player that's risen to the challenge, Theo?
You know, it shows the mentality and the strength in his character, because, like you just said there, he's been pushed out full-back, and He's not gifted with pace. He really isn't. This man's quite quick. You're quicker than himself as a fullback, but.
You talking about me?
Yeah, I am talking about yourself. Yeah.
We're going to have a race here.
Yeah. But just to be on the sidelines and to not play at all, to wait for your moment, and then to play in such a big opportunity, a big game, knowing that you're not playing for a lot of time. We've obviously spoken about Raheem Sterling not up to game fitness, and you can clearly see that. And that's not the Sterling we know. But Kiwior as well there, it just shows the strength and the homework that Mikel Arteta is to bring in a player like this, understanding that you ain't going to be a starter, but when I need you, I need you. And as well, that goal, confidence goals, obviously it always happens, but look, he's going to have a busy week ahead.
Certainly is, but he looks in a good place right now, doesn't he? It was an equaliser from a set piece from Crystal Palace. And do you think this one, Theo, is sort of conjured because they know they have the quality of Eze on the edge of the box?
Yeah, look, I said this.
They were back in a situation like this to get a shot away. Yeah,
what it was is obviously Raheem and Trossard were pinned back to create all that space for Eze, but for me, you cannot give any opportunity, any Premier League player, that much time on the edge of the box. And I know it's not often you see goals go in like this, but, my position as a winger, I would always be on that edge of the box, knowing that I'm not going to win headers, I'm not going to challenge someone. Put me in a position where I can be in a strength going that way as well. If you lose the ball, I will counter. And to have players nowhere near Eze, and again, it's one of those, you mishit it, but it ended up being, obviously perfection as well. But look, never give any Premier League player time and space on the edge of the box. Like I say, even goals like that we want to see more of. But look, fantastic finish from Eze tonight it was.
Yes, again, though, yes, they are strong offensively at set pieces, but they're also conceding goals from set pieces as well. I think we've got a graphic to show you. Not at this stage. We'll move on. The graphic isn't there.
Yeah, but I think we know the numbers. We'll get to the graphic, but I think Arsenal now conceded 6 goals from corners. That's, would you believe, is the most in the top half of the Premier League. And I just don't know if... Oh, yeah, here we go. We get there. That's goals conceded from corners, and that is the percentage this season. So obviously you look at Wolves and Southampton have possibly conceded more than Arsenal, but they don't concede as many. They have to defend more corners than Arsenal. So in terms of a percentage, there's only Manchester United who are actually worse than Arsenal this season, set-piece wise. So when we make a big deal about the set-piece coach, he's absolutely out of this world in terms of going forward. But they've got a big problem defensively. So should we be cutting his wages in half? Or I mean, do they need a defensive set-piece coach?
Maybe that's the way it goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, a couple of guys bouncing up and down on the sideline.
No, but I feel like it's been one of the stories of the season, and rightly so. I mean, even tonight, the delivery, Kiwior talking to players, people blocking people, getting the delivery right in the right position, the header, it's unbelievable. You feel like every game you go into, Arsenal are going to score a goal on a set piece, or they come very close to score it. And of course, he's had a huge impact, but it is funny, isn't it, that on the flip side of that, they're having huge problems themselves.
Theo, Trossard gave Arsenal the lead before half-time. How important is it his ability that he can play off either foot, he can shoot with either foot when he's playing in this more central position?
Do you know what? It's a player as well who's gifted anywhere in that front line. He's always comfortable with his back against, the play. His first touch is absolutely outstanding to kill the pass with that much pace. But as well, because he keeps people guessing on when he plays on the left-hand side, you're never quite sure if he's going to be on the inside or the outside. He creates himself, he gets his luck, obviously from the deflection, but he's a player that's been so important and probably an underrated player in some sense. When I say underrated, I think he's had moments where he may not be in the game, but he will get that goal. And I think that's when you have players like that in the dressing room or in that team, that in a slip of a moment they can just create something out of nothing. He's certainly got that at Arsenal, because there's not many of them that can create, finishes like that easily as well with both foot. And so for me, yeah, he's important. It's going to be interesting to see where he plays as well. I'm still trying to figure that out myself if he's going to drop Marino. Obviously,
were you convinced if that was the audition? Were you convinced by it?
I mean, he gets the goal, yeah. I mean, it's one of those, you put yourself in that position to get a goal. He's done his job. I think there was elements in the second half, it did start to die off, and it was one of those where as soon as Crystal Palace got that goal, everyone woke up a bit. And but yeah, I think he's put a little bit of pressure on that side of it. But look, he lives with that.
I think the fact that at home in the first leg makes it easier to go with sort of Trossard at the top end of the pitch, Marino a little bit further back. I think it'd been a lot tougher if it was away from home the first leg. 'Cause obviously, you know, Partey be back for the second leg. I think that would have been a much more interesting conundrum. But again, it's another situation where Arsenal without a player, an important player in Partey. You think of Gabriel, obviously Havertz, Jesus as well. And I think if Arsenal had the full repertoire of players, I think they have a really strong chance of going on and winning the Champions League. It's just going to obviously be a lot tougher missing players.
He has one or two decisions to make, doesn't he, selection-wise, Mikel Arteta, and maybe we'll... Theo Walcott here with Jamie Carragher tonight, and Arsenal lead by 2-1. Set piece getting them up and running. Is this Nicolas Jaubert back in form, Jamie?
Yes, and Nketiah scores a brilliant header, but as usual, all the Arsenal players at the back post, and the job of everybody except Nketiah is to block and stop the Crystal Palace players running back. They create that space for Nketiah, but still, he's got to put that away from the penalty spot. So that is a fantastic header. Great delivery from Odegaard.
So good routine then.
Yeah, look at the Arsenal players. Just as we stop it now, every Arsenal player except Nketiah is trying to block the opposition, putting the backsides into the Crystal Palace players to stop them running back. And they just create that space around Eddie Nketiah. We see it's a tight one. He's just onside, times it perfectly. As I said, delivery fantastic, but that is a brilliant header from a player who was in brilliant form. And as we just see there, really tight one.
Yeah, very tight. It's Nketiah and Gay's head behind him that are playing Nketiah on there.
Yeah, you just see the space that they create. Look at Thomas Partey, does really well, creates that space. Look at that. And it's can he finish? And he can.
Very different set piece. Had Crystal Palace level, Theo?
Yeah, obviously Eze finds himself on the edge of the box with plenty of space, and this is music to his ears, because this is something that they would practice and train, of course, and he's a player that is technically gifted. And look, it's one of those that half the time might go over, but it's a fantastic finish. One of those he doesn't catch it cleanly, hitting into the floor, which obviously now the goalkeeper can't get. And it's a fantastic finish, and it obviously caught Arsenal by the break.
So they got themselves level, and this was a real scare. Big chance, you think, Freddie?
Massive chance. I feel like he's taken a long time to turn. I was expecting one of those Thierry Henry back heels back in the day.
Confidence, sharpness?
Look, I think he's had elements of his game that have been flashes, but yeah, you would expect him. It's a great block by Nketiah, but look, I know it's a massive opportunity to get a goal now.
So it could have gone 2-1, and it did at the other end for Trossard. How well did he take this?
And this is the other side this is a different side of Trossard, for instance, because he can go on each side, and it's obviously he does the feint and gets obviously the deflection, but look, he's weeping with confidence right now, and he's in that position where you want him to get the goals and be in those positions, but he's constantly on the move, and the difference between him and Eddie Nketiah at this moment in time, he's a lot more confident. Is
that the kind of evidence that his manager will be looking for ahead of next week?
Absolutely. Look, goals breed confidence in teams, but look, Trossard at this moment in time is always reliable in that position.
Certainly had their moments, Crystal Palace, got themselves back in it, might well have been ahead, but it's Arsenal.
Yes, he made quite an impact, didn't he? And he has made an unbelievable impact under Oliver Glasner. We talk about this all the time, but there's the numbers since Oliver Glasner arrived. Only Salah, Haaland and Isak have scored more Premier League goals than Jean-Philippe Mateta.
Wow. He's in good company there, because look, they're three of the best above him, natural goal scorers as well. But I think he's
But the point is, Clinton, until Glasner came, he was nowhere near
nowhere near it. I remember speaking to Dougie Freeman, the director of football. He said he's a talent. He just needs a run of games. And Edward and the managers weren't giving him an opportunity. But I think he's trimmed down and he looks fit. He looks in good condition.
What's Glasner done to him?
He just give him confidence. You're my main number 9. I will tell you, if a manager comes in and you know you're going to play week in, week out, and you're not going to get dragged after 60 minutes, or you're not going to come on after half an hour and make an impact. And I think that's what he's done, and he's just started scoring goals. He's been a revelation. The goal is fantastic. That is a centre forward that's in great form at the moment. But yeah, he's got good energy. I heard he's bubbly around the place. I've met him a few times. Yeah, he can improve on his interviews. He knows that. But he doesn't.
You're going to give him some media training.
I'll give him some media training, even though people will say I need to improve. But yeah, he needs to improve a little bit. But he enjoys his football.
And we're enjoying his numbers. That's 14 now, Michael, following on from 16 last season, and of course playing in the Olympics in between that.
Yeah, it's not a flash in the pan, is it? Sometimes you get a centre forward that just goes on a nice little run and you think, wow, he's confident and whatever, but this is a prolonged period now, so there's no fluke about it. Very good player, great presence as well in the team. And when you've got that presence and you score goals, it's almost 2 jobs that you do for the team. So really good. Great to get that goal and that result going into the semi-finals on Saturday. So, yeah, after a little bit of a dip, I think they bounced back almost, haven't they, Palace?
Yeah, you're right.
Under Patrick Vieira, I watched him a lot, because obviously Patrick being a friend, I kept an eye on it. This guy hit the bar, hit the post, nothing would really come off for him. And then there's been a switch And he came on, he breezed on, he looked classy straight away. And that's the sort of finish now. He's going to the next level where this is a really good, clever finish. He's saying there probably the best goal he's scored. But it's about player now. And of course it's the manager, it's a trust thing, a belief. And his first name on the team sheet now for Crystal Palace.
So there's two sides to this goal. Let's talk to the two strikers about the finish first, then we'll come to the centre half. Martin, don't worry. He says it's his bet. How hard is this technique?
No, it's difficult. It's a difficult technique. Listen, I know you're going to talk about it, the mistake from Arsenal, but I'll talk about, obviously, Nketiah. Kamada does ever so well because they set a trap here at Palace. I don't know I know we're talking about it, but Raya, I don't know where Raya is. I don't know what he's
Leave
doing.
that to Martin. Just praise the finish.
But, yeah, we're getting to it. I promise you we are getting to it. Look, Kamada does well here. But once he knows, Mateta must know where David Raya is, and the finish is fantastic. And he said in his interview he thought he was going to hit the crossbar. That is one of the sweetest finishes you'll see because it hits the underside of the bar and goes in. And I think it's a fantastic finish, isn't it, Mo?
Oh,
Score many of these, Michael?
Oh, loads.
I don't think I could kick it that far. There's plenty to be said here, Martin. I mean, even his own teammates are saying get in a certain position and he's not.
Yeah, Raya takes that position, doesn't he? Almost at the extra centre half, and he should have got back in earlier. And when it looks so sloppy, of course it's a moment of class, isn't it? It's sort of a Bergkamp finish, if anything.
High praise.
Put it up there. High praise, but it's the imagination, the execution. And he's a player, isn't he? He's in top form. He can't wait to get to Wembley.
Yeah. Right, let's go back to the centre half then, because obviously Saliba had an awkward moment in the Bernabeu as well. What's he thinking? Is it just a lack of concentration?
Yeah, I think he should take a touch. He comes back inside. If you look at it, the game opens up for him on the right-hand side. Timber's a little pass he could just float in, but he doesn't make it. Look, he opens his body up, and he comes back inside for some reason. When he gets it, look there now. I think just float that out to Timber, because he knows the goalkeeper is going to be alongside Kivior, and he comes back inside. Look, Kivior's saying go back, and he doesn't even. He could take a touch here, put his foot on it, and he passes it to their player.
Yeah, but Martin, there, I think it's Odegaard's pointing to David Raya to go back to his goal. David Raya's position is totally wrong because if you're saying Saliba should play it out to Timber, then David Raya should be on that side of the pitch. Instead, he's over this side of the pitch. So he's taking a big risk.
But I watch Raya every week, and my heart's in my mouth because he stood out there next to the other centre half, and it's worked all season. And then they won't change. But OK, there he could have been a bit more aware of that and I think that's why the striker is switched into that. They know the keeper's going to be away from his goal line, and it's a wonderful effort. Yeah. But they preempt that because Raya is always that high in that Arsenal. I mean, look at it. There's no goalkeeper in the goal. Look, it's unbelievable, really. But this is the sort of modern Arsenal now. But when it goes wrong, it looks terrible.
Very difficult.
Even look up there, Michael, does he? Mateta.
No, he doesn't need to. He knows who's around. You know as a centre forward what's around you. And he said before he came on, he was even seeing Raya coming. But everybody knows that Raya takes big angles. But once the angle is a closed one, once Saliba's about to go wide to Timber, or potentially, Raya should be sprinting back to make his new angle just in case he cuts back. He was never ever going to be in the game. And I feel sorry for Saliba because all he does is make one mistake in many ways. Now, because he doesn't pass that ball to Timber, once he comes back inside, he's got nobody to play to. So he tries to. There's no goalkeeper. You can't pass it back. He'll knock it into his own goal. So all of a sudden, he either have to take 2 or 3 touches, get nicked off him, or he just needs a centre half to help him. And obviously, he gets mugged for the ball. But it is Saliba's fault in a way. But I would, if I was Saliba there, I'd be going into the dressing room screaming at Raya, screaming at him. OK, make an angle. That's fine. Help me out sometimes. But if you're in doubt, just get in a position where I can always pass to you. When I'm in trouble, the worst case scenario, if I can't go there, I can at least go safe to you.
I think Saliba, though, if I'm working with him, don't switch off. Because the game that they played against Real Madrid, the goalkeeper rolled it out to him just after they scored. And it's as if he hasn't got a picture. He wasn't alert. And there, he's come inside and he hasn't quite got... Don't give the ball away. Make sure we keep... he could have put his foot on it there and maybe span out. So, he's twice now that's happened in successive games. He just needs to sharpen it. I think it crept in because of this sloppiness with Arsenal, just trying to see out games. Tonight was a victory and not getting injuries, because there's a huge game coming up. And I think when you're just down from 100%, you make mistakes.
Just a very slight foot off the pedal.
Exactly.
What about Palace in that second half? I mean, they had some chances. a couple at 2-1, and then after Mateta's goal as well, one that almost had Liverpool getting the champagne corks open.
Yeah, there was a good opportunity. I think it was Ishmael. So, as I said, we saw Sarr and Mateta, but Palace were the better team in the second half. As I said, pedestrian Arsenal were. These are good runs, a good opportunity. This is Ishmael. This is a brilliant opportunity for Devaney. It's harder to do that, isn't it, Mo, to hit your shoulder?
How many players in the box?
And
1, 2, 3, 4, 7.
They got 7 in the box.
Players
And from the
away at the Emirates.
And this is another chance. Munez header and Ishmael Sarr. I think Raya comes for it and misses it, and Sarr doesn't react. But
And this is at 2-2.
This was the chance. This is the big chance where Mateta came on. Munez wins the first one, and he's strong. Mateta. Kivio can't deal with him. Puts a good ball in. And it's a poor finish from Sarr. He does. You know what? Doesn't get enough on it. That's why it goes into that corner. If he gets more on it, he beats David Raya at the near post. And you see there Glasner's reaction. They could have gone on and won it. Arsenal were lucky in the end.
They were just loosening the corks out of the bottle at Anfield at that precise moment.
The longer that game went on, the more I was starting to think Palace are going to nick this. Yeah, absolutely. I think they were getting confident. I think the subs made a big difference. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of Liverpool supporters were thinking, "Hey, let's stay up a little bit longer. This could change." But I suppose a good result for everybody in the end. Maybe Arsenal will be disappointed, but they've almost done their job. Good result for Palace going into good result for Liverpool. So yeah, I think there's a lot of people be happy tonight.
Yeah, particularly Oliver Glasner, of course. In the last 2 away games, Palace had conceded 5 in both of them, to City and to Newcastle. Back twice tonight. Let's see what he thinks of it.
You alluded to it before the game. It's new territory for you, an FA Cup semi-final, new territory for a lot of your players. How much are you relishing that challenge?
No, I was told that the size of the pitch is the same than here, so it should be the same. The grass should be green, and we don't talk about all these circumstances. For us, it's a game that we want to win, yeah, and we always want to compete with the best teams, and we want to show our performance. Yeah, I think we know what we want to do, and then they changed a few things because we already watched them, and now it's also finding the right tactics and against their shape, and then perform on the same level, perform as a team, and then everything is possible. And this is how we will walk into Wembley.
Well, he's very confident now, and he should be, because people talking about the lack of experience in the Palace team. If he does it on Saturday, that's his 3rd major final in 3 seasons as a manager.
Yeah, he's got the experience. He's a good manager, and I've met him a few times. He's very intense. He does work the players ever so well. But they needed that when they came into that football club, and he improved players like Michael Olise. You can see what he's doing at Bayern Munich, and Eze, and these kinds of players like Adam Wharton and Mark Gay. They've got to go into that game on the weekend full of confidence. Now, they on the back of bad runs, but this result tonight should give them confidence. They are playing against a very good Aston Villa team on a big pitch at Wembley. It's going to be difficult, but if they stay in the game and cause them problems, they've already beaten Aston Villa this season as well. So they should be really confident going into the weekend's game.
And Sunday, you're going to be there? Royal Box?
Yeah, I'll be there, Royal Box. Yeah, the chairman sorted me out, as you do, when you're a legend at the football club. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, you're a legend at the football club.
You've got to be a legend somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah. In my own head, I'm a legend. I don't know.
Oh, dear. You're an Arsenal legend. What sort of shape are they in then for 6 days' time, do you think?
Sorry, Steve.
What sort of shape are they in for 6 days' time?
I'm pleased that there's been no more casualties, no more injuries. It's been a horrendous season from an Arsenal point of view. So we're a clean bill of health. We can now look forward and totally commit, because it's a totally different Arsenal team that turn up for these Champions League games. The game against Real Madrid, the 2 ties, they were magnificent. Controlled the game, I thought, in both matches. We know what they're going to be up against. A lot of pace, certainly. The first game's at home, and they have to be positive and attack as they did against Real Madrid. A little 3-0 would be a cheeky way to start the semi-final.
Mm-hmm. When they do sit down and analyse this Premier League season, though, that's the 9th draw this season from leading positions. That's what's ultimately cost them on Liverpool's heels, isn't it?
It has, yeah. I wouldn't be so critical, though. I mean, Arsenal...
It's a lot of leads to give away, though, isn't it?
It is a lot of leads, and, there's lots of different reasons as well. I mean, Martin's just alluded to, there's been a lot of injuries, a lot of big players. They've had an incredible run of things in a different competition, in a difficult competition as well. This could be an incredible season for Arsenal. And do you know what? If they get beat in the semi-finals, you know, coming second in the Premier League, semi-finals of the Champions League. It's not to be sniffed at. That's okay, they're not lifting a trophy, but if they're knocking on the door like that and playing like this all the time, they're going to be picking up trophies in the near future. And I know Arsenal fans want it tomorrow, but you know, coming second to Manchester City for 2 seasons on the spin when they were just absolutely elite. Liverpool had an incredible season again this season. I mean, they've gone the distance virtually every season, and they could go and win one of the biggest prizes of all. So I wouldn't be, even if they lost in the semi-finals, I'd still be really comfortable if I was an Arsenal fan. I think Mikel Arteta's going the right way with this team, gradually getting experience, gradually getting the better squad, and with a fully fit squad that stays fit all season, they'll give virtually every competition a real run for its money.
When you look at the draw, Barca play Inter, obviously PSG play Arsenal. Is it wide open? Is there an outstanding favourite there? Will Arsenal never get a better chance?
Yeah, exactly that. You know, either one of those teams could do it. You know, Inter Milan is the only team that's beaten Arsenal in the Champions League, and I thought they were unlucky that night. It was so let's see what happens. Just to get the job done. I think now he's got everybody available. He can attack the game, and they can really commit. And I think they just lack that little bit of commitment tonight to truly get over the line. They're looking over their shoulder a little bit now because they want to get the necessary points. They've still got to play Newcastle, still got to play Liverpool. So no one's going to take that for granted, but now they can commit now to this Champions League semi-final.
And in terms of the Premier League, as Michael says, runners-up, 3 seasons in a row probably. Only Arsenal have ever done that in the Premier League era, and your good self was involved in that squad. Exactly. Would you like to tell us what happened after the 3rd runners-up?
We were on the double in 2002, and let me tell you, it was sweet, tasted good, but it was a long, winding path to be successful, but we got there in the end. And it hurts when you're sitting there. Obviously, Michael Owen scores the cup final goals. That was one of the years we didn't win anything. And you have to suck it up. You have to make sure it doesn't happen again. And this Arsenal team have got the ingredients, but it will need to buy. I don't think the squad's big enough. Even now, tonight, they couldn't, make enough changes, really. So he'll keep building, he'll keep buying, and he's relentless. I think he's got that pep ingredient where he wants to win things. And the first thing they win will taste really good. Let's hope it's the Champions League this year.
I'm never tired of seeing the smile on his face when someone mentions the Michael Owen Cup final.
It literally is his cup final, though.
Well, it was.
Yeah,
if I had gone up
I was
that
fortunate
corner,
to be there.
He
was
not in the Royal
Box. It was actually Martin's fault.
I went up for a corner.
He went up for the corner. He should have stayed back. He was the only one with pace.
Don't open that can of worms at this time of night. Right, before we do all that, here is Mikel Arteta.
It's been an intense past week for you, starting in Madrid and then at Ipswich on Sunday and then 3 days later again tonight. Has that played a part in perhaps some of those errors and performance that you've alluded to tonight?
It can be very difficult. We will never know, but certainly the standards are required in the Premier League to diminish many aspects of the game that we should have done better today, weren't there. And then, the game is always in the air for the position to hurt you if they have the quality to deliver, and especially on the goal that they scored, the second one, they found that.
It's always difficult to find perfection, but there was a sense perhaps around the stadium tonight amongst fans and maybe sometimes the players that minds might be elsewhere. And would that be forgivable looking at what lies ahead for you?
No, because we require the consistency in the competition that we play to be at our best, and sometimes the opposition, and today I think they were very organised and they deserve the credit. But as well, we have to be critical with ourselves and look what we have to do much better.
We can see his demeanour, being critical of ourselves, but that's the standards he's trying to set within the football club, isn't it?
100%, and he's realistic about his opponent tonight, because Crystal Palace were well organised with that back 5. They know their roles and responsibility. Glasner's been there now just over a calendar year, and we've seen how much they've improved. I know they're sort of middle of the table, but they're very comfortably middle of the table, whereas they've arrived there in that position in previous seasons. So they're in good shape and a huge semi-final to look forward to. But as I say, Arsenal should be winning these games, and I feel in the future, when he's got the necessary players he wants in the squad, because you're only as good as your squad, really, if you want to win a Premier League, that's where he has to improve.
So, to round off, we were prepared for a Liverpool party tonight. We didn't get one. We are going to Anfield on Sunday. They only need to draw. Surely we're going to get one at Anfield.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, with all due respect, I think Tottenham are the perfect team to play at the moment. They've got their eyes on a different prize. Liverpool have got so much to play for. Party atmosphere. To equal the 20 league titles that Manchester United are on, it'll be a party atmosphere.
Gentlemen, thanks for your company. Enjoy the Royal Box. Polish your shoes. Liverpool will look to Sunday from the four of us.